Okay, so after finishing with the recolor, we're going to move on to the gradients. There are three types of gradients. We have the linear, the radial, and the freeform. They're very simple to use. What I'm going to start first is with the background. So I'm going to make sure, yes, I'm in the gradients layer, and I'm going to select the background. Now, once you have your object selected, you're going to find the gradient tool, which you can activate with letter G. You click on it, and you just simply click on the object that you want to add a gradient. In this part, we have the color stops. These are the color stops, and this also helps me to make not to change the position of my color stop, but to make it like the transition between colors as a little bit smoother. So after that, if we go to properties panel, we can find the three types of gradient in here. So that means that the first one is linear, of course, and then if I click in the next one, that's the radial, and the next one is the freeform, which I'll explain you later. Let's start with the linear one. In these 3 points, I can open the gradient pop-up, and I'm going to simply click in this part so I can start editing my gradient. What I can do is to double click in here. I can change the opacity and the location of my color. If I do double click on the color stop, I can quickly change the colors of my gradient. Okay, I'm going to pick that one. And then the next one, I'm going to double click, and this time I'm going to pick a lighter blue. Also, you can play with the opacity. If you don't want it to be very like full with color, you can change it. And you can add as many color stops as you like. So I can move the position of this one, and if you see, the cursor has there a plus sign. So I'm going to click in there, and I'm going to add another color stop, and this time I'm going to change its color. So you can add as many as you like, and that's very simple. Also, what you can do is to change the angle of your gradient. So since this is the sky, I'm going to change it to 90 degrees. So it starts from the top to the bottom. And if I don't want this to be really like light in there, I can change it, I can move it, I can play with my gradient anything I want. Next, what I'm going to show you is to create a radial gradient with this circle. Now, since this is a group, what I'm going to do is to double click in the group until I access the circle, which I can see in here. And again, I take my gradient tool, I'm going to click in here, but this time I'm going to choose radial. And in the pop-up, I can quickly change the colors of my gradient. What is it? There. It's not letting me. Sorry for the noise. Let's try it in here. There. I'm going to put random like colors so you can see how, which is very simple, and then I'll pick a purple one. So as you can see, I can quickly change the color stops to add simple gradients as a circle. And also what I have in here are these options, which I can make them bigger. This other one helps me to create like an oval, and this one allows me to rotate my gradient, which is better visible when you have a linear or a freeform. Remember, in the pop-up you can change the angle and everything in this part as well, so you can do it from using the sliders or the pop-up. That's for the circle. I'm going to get back to my main layer, and now I'm going to create a freeform gradient. For this one, I am going to select my cloud, and I'm going to apply a gradient. It usually leaves the last gradient that you did, but this time I'm going to choose the freeform gradient. But I'm going to access my group so I can see the difference between the background and what I'm doing in here. So I'm going to create a freeform gradient. And I'm going to click where it says Edit Gradient. I have two options, points or lines. The difference with points and lines is that I can change the position of the color stops or even add more color stops. And I can edit this each one of the color stops independently. Okay, and so I can click in here, for example, put a dark color, a dark blue in there, and maybe a lighter color over here, and that one I'll leave it white, and this one I'll put it with a different tone of blue. So you can edit the color stops separately. That's when you work freeform with points. When you click in lines, what you can do is to connect this. To connect this, to add more, and to close the shapes that you're doing. Okay? So, and after that, you can simply move them. These work like anchor points. I'm going to add another one. These work like anchor points, yes. And you can add as many of these color stops as you like. So you can play with the shapes and their forms and their position and all that. For example, I want to create a gradient with this one, but I don't want my colors to start like at 100%. I want them to start in 0. So if I click in here, I'm going to pick the same dark blue, but I'm going to change the opacity to 0. And I'm going to do the same with the rest of my colors. So as you can see, it's changing. My entire gradient is changing, but it won't start completely filled in. After I finish this, what I'm going to do is to add another set of color stops. Let me quickly change. Another set of color stops, because in the free form, the good thing that you can do is that you can add as many as you like, and also a second row. I think I put a lot of this. Let me do this fast. There we go. So as you can see, I don't have any color there, right? But what I can do is that I'm going to click here and add more of those color stops, and I'm going to click in that one so I can put another one there. So I can close this. It's not letting me close because it's okay. Because it's when that happens, it's because it's not letting you connect this one overlaps. So I'm going to move this so I can continue there, my path. So as you can see, you can add or create different types of gradients, and in this one the result will be, I did it really fast, that the cloud is not going to start like the gradient very visible. It starts at 0 and then increases a little bit its color. So these are the 3 types of gradients, and the rest of the assignment will be first to finish the recolor part, and then to recolor this but with gradients. You need to apply gradients to everything. If you need inspiration, check the image that I left for you in classwork under this assignment so you can see what I did with my gradient.